Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to the all-new DC Daily. On today's show, I will be asking the question, should Arrowverse head producer Greg Berlanti be the new president of DC Studios? I'm sure this is going to be a very divisive conversation, but I don't care. I need to talk about this because I care passionately about DC. We will then read an article from Mickey Sutton from Geekosity about Ben Affleck's beautiful frames in the Flash movie prequel comics. So we'll read that article to you as well. But then we'll talk about Blue Beetle movie director teasing Young Justice in the future of the DCEU, and if it's something that can actually happen with everything going down right now. Earlier this week, I felt tired of the negativity in the DC fandom. And I announced that I wouldn't just be focusing on DC content with my channel any longer. And I would be talking about a mixture of entertainment content. But then I've been reinvigorated in the past 48 hours about my DC fandom again. And although you will see videos about other sections and corners of the entertainment industry now and again, this will be a channel focusing on DC live action. And we will have this brand new DC Daily video every day. So let's go. So, should Greg Berlanti be the president of DC Studios? Well, listen, Greg is the only one that's come close to creating an expansive extended universe with Arrowverse, and he's done it quite successfully. Is it perfect? No. Is some of the stuff he did problematic? Yes. But nothing made by human hands is perfect. And as I say, this is the only guy that's come close, along with Mark Guggenheim and some other really, really good people. I mean, Mark Guggenheim, he knows so much about DC. He's developing a Green Lantern show, which we don't even know if we're ever going to see. He's writing the finale as we speak. But when you look at those first two seasons of Arrow and the Flash series, that's the evidence that it can be done. Superman and Lois is killing it. He's the one who brought Todd Helbing to develop that show, and it's working out very, very well. So Greg Berlanti does have the credentials to do this. He does have the credentials to be the president of DC Studios. I mean, who else has come close to competing with what Kevin Feige has achieved at Marvel Studios with the MCU? No, I'm not saying the Arrowverse is on the level with the MCU, but it's the only thing DC that's come close to copying and patterning what Feige has achieved. So yes, I do believe that Greg Berlanti, has got the credentials to be a president of DC Studios. Will David Zaslav make the decision to do that? Well, at this moment in time, he seems to be looking at former studio heads to head up a DC Studios. And you can see why, because they have the experience of running a studio. And I get that. It's not like he can't have a former studio head running the platform with him. But the DC Studios, as you obviously know by the name, is not going to be running a mixture of films. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a huge responsibility, but it's just about DC. And I believe that Greg Berlanti could do this really successfully, because if he could come near to anything like Arrow Season 1 and 2, Flash Seasons 1 and 2, Legends of Tomorrow is okay. So he kind of knows what he's doing. So I do think he does have the credentials. And if I was David Zaslav, if I was making the decision, at the very least, I would be looking at Greg Berlanti seriously as one of the people that could be a president of DC Studios. I really would love to get your feedback on this. Clearly, Greg, like all creatives who have been within the industry for many years, have got their flops, they've got their successes, they've got their failures. His success is early Arrowverse. But at the end of the day, it was Gregg Berlanti who come up with the crossovers. And the Arrowverse crossover events, whether you like what he's done with Arrowverse or not, cannot be denied. They've been successful. Crisis on Infinite Earths was his Infinity Saga. All the crossovers were his Infinity Saga. I mean, later on, I might re-watch all of those crossovers just kind of for clarity. But yeah, I think he would do a really, really good job. And I can't see really anyone around Warner Brothers who could do a better job. He's run an extended connective DC universe, right? He's done it. Again, I know it hasn't been perfect, but he's got the experience and know-how. He clearly is a DC fan. He clearly understands DC. He was even going to write and direct a Booster Gold movie. Because if you're looking for mainstream and fun, and if you're looking for that type of franchise, or the franchise that people are looking for from DC, I personally think that Gregg Berlanti has better credentials than Walter Hamada. Walter Hamada has a plan. And I've said it before. I don't want to just write off Walter Hamada's plan. It's a pretty solid plan. Instead of, apart from deleting my man Superman, but he was going to have Superman in his own movie. I mean, he was going to culturally vandalise and swap him with a black Clark Kent. But apart from that, you know, who knows? The black Clark Kent may have been awesome. It may have worked. And Ashley Coates is an interesting writer. We'll never know now because I don't think that's happening anymore. But apart from dumping Superman, we have to give it to Walter Hamada. Bringing in Michael Keaton as the Tony Stark of the newly formed DCEU is a good idea. Having him introduced in the Flash movie, then Batgirl, then Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and who knows what else he would be involved with. It's a good idea because, you know, Michael Keaton is one of the most popular versions of live-action Batman. And I know he's 70 years old, and I know all of that, but people love him. So it is a viable plan. And we'll talk about the Young Justice idea as well, and what's being teased by the Blue Beetle director a little bit later on. But I do see Gregg Berlanti working as a DC president. I think he could pull it off. You know, he was partially involved with the Green Lantern movie that didn't work. But I'm not going to hold that against him. Why? Because there's portions of that movie that truly do work. No, the Green Lantern costumes and the CGI don't work. Because CGI was a young technology back then, and no one really was doing a great job with CGI back then, apart from, I mean, even George Lucas has been, you know, labelled as, you know, handling it badly with the prequels or overusing it. But, I mean, when you look at Peter Jackson and what he did with CGI in his Lord of the Rings trilogy, you know, he's one of the few directors that pulled it off back in those early stages. So I'm not going to hold that against Greg. So, yeah, I would actually be, as a DC fan, I've been boring on for weeks now. The kind of person I want running a DC Studios is someone who loves DC, who understands DC. And I'll repeat myself again. Greg's not perfect. He's made mistakes. Some people have even labelled him as a social justice warrior. But here's the thing. Hollywood has only got social justice warriors. So it's your version of social justice warrior that you have to decide what you want. I think Greg is very, very talented. So, as I say, whoever you get is an SJW. So there's no escaping the SJW situation we are in entertainment right now. So would you rather have an SJW who doesn't love DC, who has got experience in running a studio, but doesn't have the love and knowledge of DC? Gregg Berlanti ticks every single box, everyone. That's what I'm saying to you on today's DC Daily. So I will give 2 thumbs up for Gregg Berlanti running a DC Studios because of Arrow seasons 1 and 2. Wow, what a version of Arrow he created. He's part of that creative process. The idea of the flashbacks, the idea of treating the island as, you know, the thing that kind of, you know, made, you know, Oliver Queen a brand new person, if you like. It's right from the comics. It works. Flash was amazing. He developed that with Jeff Johns and some other people as well. So really, at the beginning of Arrowverse, it was proper DC people running that franchise. And they got ambitious and they created an extended universe on TV. And for a time, it worked. The reason it's not so connective now is because of the pandemic and because a lot of things have changed within that universe. So it's difficult. So there's a lot of things he could do. He could bring Arrowverse into theatrical form and continue it. You've got a ready-made Superman. You have a ready-made Flash. You have a ready-made Green Arrow if you want to bring him back. They brought him back in the comics, by the way. There's a CW Arrow version in the comics. They've been doing something and they brought Oliver Queen back to life. Use it. Do it. But there's so many things Greg Berlanti could do as a DC president, a DC Studios president. I've said it before, there's those Superman 78. There's that Superman 78 graphic novel. Bring it to life. Brandon Routh. Do it. He's Christopher Reeve's Superman. You've seen Superman Returns? That's Christopher Reeve's Superman. Brandon Routh is playing that version. Do it. There's so many great things we can do here. So in my opinion, if you are looking for someone to develop a mainstream central DC universe, I don't think there's anyone better at WB right now than Greg Berlanti. Even if you look outside of WB, there's only one other person, and that's Kevin Feige. And it's literally impossible to get Kevin Feige. I mean, it's Hollywood. Anything's possible. What I'm saying to you is, if you can't get Kevin Feige, get mini Kevin Feige. Because as I've already said, no one, apart from Greg Berlanti, has been able to do what Kevin Feige has done. He's the only person that's been kind of semi-successful at doing this. So yes, I think Greg Berlanti as DC president, DC Studios president, would be a great idea, and I would be all for it. Please get in the comments below and let me know what you think. Companion comic books with movies are a really great idea, you know, in pushing the film in terms of marketing. And despite the problems of the Flash movie, they are pushing and releasing panels from the Flash companion comic book. And it looks pretty good, although there was a panel of Ezra Miller's The Flash naked as he puts his Flash costume on. That was withdrawn. So it'll be interesting if we ever see it when the Flash the Flash movie companion comic is released. Anyway, Mickey Sutton has written an article about Batfleck in this very comic book. So let's give it a read. Ben Affleck's Batman looks awesome in Flash tie-in comic. Written by Mickey Sutton, editor-in-chief, owner. Yes, this is from Geekosity, of course. The Flash movie's prequel comic reveals Ben Affleck's Batman look in the film. None of the Flash footage has included Ben Affleck's Batman. DC Films will unveil that in a future trailer, so here's a preview. Well, kind of. Certainly Star Ezra Miller's troubling behaviour and legal difficulties created issues for The Flash. But Warner Brothers Discovery hasn't decided its fate yet. Will they release it theatrically, or is HBO Max its final destination? Listen, I can't see any reality where you dump this film on HBO Max, so, you know, I don't believe that for a minute. It's either cinematically or nothing. In the meantime, The Flash, the Fastest Man Alive, #1, offers a sneak peek at Ben Affleck's Batman. Of course, even that caused controversy. Come on, man. Ben Affleck's Batman looks awesome in Flash tie-in comic. And I don't know if we can do a zoom in for you guys, but this is it. So yeah, he looks pretty awesome here, doesn't he? Wow, that's some great artwork. I do love and admire comic book artists. Somebody must have cursed the Flash. You couldn't script this kind of bad luck. Then again, it's probably just poor decision making. The Flash's director Andy Muschietti drew its polarizing cover. Miller is naked, or rather, his likeness is in the buff. He's throwing on his costume, his hand just barely covering his family jewels. He has no underwear. Bro, that's one sneak peek we'd rather not see. Now, this is interesting, and it shows you how how Warner Brothers and a lot of these studios are just so not in connection with reality and what's going on. Surely they know what Ezra Miller's being accused of and the 2 arrests in Hawaii, and the things he's been accused of grooming a 12-year-old girl, allegedly giving her drugs and alcohol, allegedly. So what you don't do is release a naked panel of his version of the Flash, putting the costume on. I understand, realistically, it's a good way of doing it. You would imagine he would have to be naked, but we don't have to see it, right? And isn't this supposed to be a PG-13 movie, right? Isn't that the kind of audience they were looking for when they removed Zack Snyder? So why did you remove Zack Snyder if you're going to have the Flash in a Flash prequel comic from a movie be naked and put his costume on? It's a bit inconsistent, isn't it? And hypocritical. The image landed in the middle of Miller's latest tabloid headline. Social media let DC Comics have it. Many laughed at. It also offended others. It isn't just about the wrong timing, indeed. It looks inappropriate no matter what. I agree with that. Thus, DC Comics pulled the cover before the Flash could pull up his outfit. Ben Affleck's Batman looks awesome in the Flash tie-in comic. So let's see if we could do a few close-ups on this one as well. So there you go. Now he's on his bat bike now and he's talking to the Flash. This is fucking amazing. I do like this artwork. I do want you all to see this movie. I really, really do. It's not a bad movie. There are some polarizing elements to the film, of course. But yeah. This is good. This is good. This is great marketing. It's just a shame what's happened, and I just don't know what they're going to do now. So there's that, and I think we've got some... Yeah, and again, he's on his bike here. If I can just close up to that. Bit difficult to see, but there you have it. All that overshadowed the coolest aspect of the previewed images, it showed Ben Affleck in his armoured Batman costume. Batman and the Flash are fighting a villain called Gerda. However, this is a prequel. The Flash movie won't show this scene, nevertheless. It fires the imaginations. Fans year to see Ben Affleck's Dark Knight again. In fact, Zack Snyder's Justice League increased that desire. At this point, it seems like Ben Affleck's presence could redeem The Flash. After all, it's a movie that 45 writers worked on. The confidence level is low, and I consider myself an optimist. DC Comics releases The Flash, the Fastest Man Alive #1 on September the 13th. If that's when they actually release it. If they release it at all, we'll have to wait and see. We haven't seen a replacement cover yet. Regardless, it's doubtful Miller will be nude next time. At least not in the comic book. Imagine that was going to be the cover of the fucking companion piece to a PG-13 movie. It's ridiculous. These people have just got no brains whatsoever. So very, very interesting, yeah. So there is a lot of this kind of media going around right now. They are kind of promoting the comic book, the companion piece, the prequel comic. And of course, Man of Steel had a wonderful prequel comic as well. And finally today, let's talk about Manuel Soto. I think, is it Manuel Luis Soto, one of the directors of the Blue Beetle movie. Has that movie got 2 directors or just him? Don't know. He went onto Instagram and he posted a very interesting story. It had a picture of Sasha Calle in her Supergirl costume, Leslie Grace in her Batgirl costume, and our brand new Blue Beetle in his costume. He had them together. It wasn't an official picture of them together, obviously. And at the bottom, he said, "The Young Justice." Now, this is interesting. Are they developing, is this the future of DC? A young Justice, a younger team. Is this our new Justice League? Will we actually have a Justice League? Well, I'm assuming we will, because Gal Gadot is still going to be Wonder Woman. Jason Momoa is still going to be Aquaman. Shazam is going to be part of the new DCEU as well, and several other figures. Michael Keaton's Batman as well. So I'm assuming we'll have an adult Justice League, and maybe a Young Justice, maybe Supergirl, Blue Beetle and Batgirl will be part of this Young Justice, which will be really, really exciting, because the Young Justice animation is as popular as Clone Wars was for Star Wars. So I think what he's teasing is really, really exciting, and I think this was part of Walter Hamada's plan. As I say, Walter Hamada has some really good ideas, alongside working with Jim Lee, of course, who Jim is a fucking legend, a DC legend. So the ideas are there. The problem is, are these ideas going to be implemented? Officially right now, Walter Hamada is still the DC film president. It seems impossible and incomprehensible to me that he would be the new president of DC Studios. If that happened, well, it would be a very, very controversial choice. But as I say, some of his ideas for the new order of the DCEU are interesting, and I believe they can work. The only thing I have a problem with, and I'll repeat it again, is him deleting Superman from the DCEU. I'm assuming eventually we would see Cavill's Superman again in the final Crisis movie or arc he was planning. Because after Flash, Cavill's Superman, Affleck's Batman are stuck in another universe, in an Elseworld, in a pocket universe. That's where the Snyderverse is. It gives Zack the opportunity to do his own thing. So I like that. Because some people, when describing the Flash movie, have said, oh, he deletes the Snyderverse. He doesn't. He removes the Snyderverse from the central universe and gives it its own place. So there's potential now, if the Flash movie is released, for Zack to restore the Snyderverse without hurting that central universe. And I'm all for that. Can this be a thing? Is Young Justice the thing that they're going to do? Yeah, I think that's part of the plan. I really do. An older Justice League and a new Justice. I think that is what they were planning. Whether they get to do that, it could be a situation once DC Studios is up and running, that elements of the Hamadaverse will survive and elements won't, aka Wonder Twins, which was really The Rock's baby and part of his Black Adam universe as well. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Wonder Twins were kind of cameoed in Black Adam, and maybe that will be cut out now, which is a shame, because Wonder Twins are interesting characters, and I think, although you don't want to be spending 70 million on a streaming movie about them, there certainly maybe can cameo. So maybe that's the plan, for them to cameo in several movies, and maybe if people like them, then they'll get their own TV show or something. Maybe that's along the lines of what could happen. So maybe we'll see the Wonder Twins in Black Adam, and maybe they'll be part of this new Young Justice as well. The problem is, we just don't know what they're planning. Does Hamada remain? Does the Hamadaverse survive? We know his plan. We know the new world DCEU order he was setting up. Is he totally gone? Nobody really knows anything right now. But the sooner we find out who the new president of DC Studios is, the better. Then we can get going, and then we'll know if the Hamadaverse has a chance or not. Right now, we don't know what's going to happen to the Flash movie or even Batgirl. We'll have to wait and see about that. But the best place to keep up to date with everything DC live action is the DC Daily. So please tune in every day to keep updated. This has been the DC Daily here on Movies TV Man with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you on Monday's DC Daily. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.